Heffelfinger, who has been a private attorney in Minnesota for decades. He was also the U.S. attorney from 1991 to 1993. So he has experience in federal prosecutions and joins us now on the phone. Tom, you're at a restaurant. I appreciate you taking time to join us on this very important coverage. Tom, can you hear us?
Thank you. This is a sad day. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Let me ask you first, Tom. As a former federal prosecutor, where do you start with this, and whose jurisdiction would this even be?
Well, that's the first question. It's probably both. The federal government has jurisdiction to conduct an investigation involving the violation of federal laws. But the state clearly has jurisdiction to investigate a homicide involving that occurs during that investigation. But here's the real question. Has there been a federal warrant issued or even a state warrant issued that would give jurisdiction to the federal officers to do whatever they have done in the course of their investigation? I don't hear that any Fed has a warrant for arrest. What they're doing is they're confronting people without a warrant.
But in the case where their life might be in danger, would that matter?
Well, that's the question. Is their life in danger? That's
right.
Not what I'm
That's
hearing.
the other question, right? Yeah, well, there's video now. We just aired it. Yeah. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
There's factual questions throughout this. And there's credibility issues throughout this. But ultimately, that's why you have warrants issued for people's arrest. In this case, a federal warrant issued, or even a state warrant issued by a judge. If a judge has reviewed the evidence and given the federal officer the authority to arrest, then what happens in the course of that lawful arrest is clearly the jurisdiction of either the federal or state. But I'm telling you, I think that this is one that either the feds or the state could pursue.
Okay, well, that's helpful information. Tom, you were at a restaurant, so I'm sure you did not hear the press conference. But we do know that woman was not at all the subject of she was not the person they were pursuing in this ICE raid, so there would not have been a warrant for her arrest. She did use the car unlawfully to block the road to try to hinder the operations of those ICE agents. And that is when they kind of surrounded the car. I'm just trying to give you some background that we just learned from the press conference.
That. But I also heard an early report that said that she had weaponized her car. There's a difference between blocking traffic and using your car as a weapon.
Right. I'm not trying to imply that. I hope I didn't come across as I was implying that was the same thing.
I heard you, but that's the point. You cannot assume that her conduct was dangerous. You can assume it's illegal because she blocked the traffic, but you can't assume it was dangerous.
I guess what we're asking, Tom, is when a federal officer is accused of something, which they're not in this case yet, but if a federal officer is accused of something like homicide, who investigates the federal officer?
Both the state and both the county attorney in Minneapolis and the U.S. attorney in Minneapolis.
And can you tell us what the difference in charges would be? Like, what would that look like if this does proceed?
Both jurisdictions have versions of murder, homicide.
All right. And can you also describe the bar that this federal agent would have to reach? What would he have to prove, or she, to reach that threshold of the car being considered a deadly weapon?
Well, that's a fact question for a jury to have, but there is no burden on the federal agent to prove anything.
Right.
That's the point. It's a criminal case, therefore the burden of proof is on the prosecutor.
To prove that it was not, in other words.
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate your insight tonight. Is there anything else you want to add or share with our viewers on this day that's turned into?
No, and
Go ahead.
I'm really disappointed in our leadership in Washington that's basically told its agents to go out there and create chaos, which is what's happening.
Tom Heffelfinger, former U.S. Attorney in the District of Minnesota, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you doing this on such emergency notice.
My pleasure, to the extent that there's any pleasure in this horrible situation.
All right. Thanks for